Hi everyone, good morning.
Good
Hi
morning, ma'am.
Anjana, hi Subhanka.
How are you, ma'am, now?
Yeah, I'm doing better. So I've been taking solid food for last 2 days, so I'm gaining back my strength. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Yes, ma'am. Happy New Year to you also.
Thank you. Anjana, hi. We could not introduce ourselves before. Where are you from? Maybe you can just turn on your camera. We'll know you. Hi Sindhu, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. I can hear you.
Okay, this is Anjana speaking, right? So Anjana, where are you from?
I'm from Tamil Nadu.
Okay, so you're right now in Tamil Nadu?
Right now I'm in Kerala.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm staying here. I live in the border, so I'm staying in Kerala right now. I'm from Kanyakumari district.
Okay, awesome. We have such diverse classrooms. Shubhanka, where are you from? And Sindhu, you?
Ma'am, I'm from Pune.
I'm from Telangana, Hyderabad, ma'am.
Okay, awesome.
I only joined like a day back, so I
Day
have not really done anything. I hope to catch up soon.
Okay, actually, we didn't have class post induction. I was
Yeah,
unwell over the last
induction.
week.
I saw the induction.
Yeah. Oh, you went through the induction. Did you also
Yeah.
go through previous batch class?
Oh no, I only got it last night, so I couldn't go through that.
Oh,
But I saw the
okay.
induction, and I hope you are well now.
Yes. I'm doing better. Thank you. Thanks a second. Hi, Akhilesh. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Awesome. Akhilesh, where are you joining from?
I'm from Pune. Actually, I've done my master's from US and now I'm back here. So I'm
Okay.
thinking of pursuing UPSC full time.
Awesome. All right. So I presume that most of you, like all of you, have watched the previous batch session. Did you go through that? Sindhu, Shubhankar.
I only did half because it's their class and their interaction I was not as with. Yeah, but I came to know the how class goes. I almost
Okay.
spent 1.5 hours. Last 1 hour, like you told again, you might take class today.
Right. Shubhankar, is the same case with you as well?
Ma'am, I saw full video and it was good for
Okay.
me for understanding, for a intro purpose.
Okay. Fair enough. So I'll just be speaking a bit less because I'm like not fully energetic.
Yeah.
So what do we do is we'll do a recap of our chapter one. So a full debrief for chapter one. And instead of discussing all 20 questions in journal, I want you guys to choose any question that you want to discuss in the journal. so that I can give some time for previous year question discussion. So that's how we can structure our class for today. Okay, let me just take you through this slide. Okay, I'll just be sharing you all a video and I want you to watch it.
Oh, that's a good question. A world without ethics.
Oh, it's hard to imagine.
Fights and wars.
I think a world of hatred.
Cruel, very sad.
Misery, craziness, corruption, all the above.
A selfish world where everyone thinks about themselves.
It's sort of like lawless. If people aren't looking out for each other, you're pretty screwed.
Could be a little bit like we've got now, in a way, just worse.
Ethics defines how we should behave towards other people. The question of why should we be good, why should we behave well towards other people. In the absence of that,
there'd be chaos.
Chaos.
Anarchy.
Color. There would be no colors. It would be like
Lifeless. Right?
you know, and then I think we have chaos.
Every day we have to contend with our own human urges.
Why shouldn't I kill someone? Why shouldn't I have lots and lots of sexual relations outside marriage?
I mean, I have impulses all the time, you know? I think we all do.
There is a point, an uncomfortable point that you pass over when you go against your ethics, that grates against you and you feel it. It's almost like an unspoken code that guides everyone's behaviour.
It's about recognizing those and sort of deciding to live in a way that you can be proud of.
Ethics are what keeps the glue of society together.
Ethics should always be in the centre, in my opinion, of everything we do.
Ethics is really just an expression of that evolutionary biological imperative.
You can't just rely on law and government to police everything, so
It's a very important part of society and makes society livable and cohesive.
And if we didn't have that, we'd live in a capitalistic, liberalist nightmare of, you know, trying to destroy each other, compete against each other, you know.
To multiply that, that's what you'd have.
Donald Trump times 1,000.
Okay, so I just want to leave with a question. What do you think a world without ethics does to you? Like, what does that mean to you? So once we understand what it is without ethics, our understanding of what is ethics can be solid. So what do you think for you as an individual, what if there's no ethics? How would you feel?
Ma'am, basically the society is defined, the societal relation is because of some set principle, and that principles are actually ethics. So the question in general is same, that what would be if there is no ethics in society. So the basically, as you have answered and me also, the society will collapse and there will be like evil things going on in the society because no one will be there to put watch on it, and that's the thing ethics do. It keeps watch on the society indirectly.
At a personal level, like let's say at your personal level. So maybe for me, if there's no ethics, my parents won't take care of me when I was a kid. So if the world only runs on each individual helping someone, if they are strong and fit, So if there's nothing like compassion, if there's nothing like selflessness, if there's nothing like standing up for each other, if there's nothing called love, then my parents wouldn't have taken care of me in my young age because I was unproductive, right? And the world, as it is now, they would never create those gendered quotas for women, for STs and for STs to uplift, because okay, jo hua so hua, you have fallen back on the social ladder for some reason, and we cannot do anything about it. If there's no ethics, the world would be, like you pointed out, it would be unfair to most of us, right? So we humans as a species have this amazing ability, like you all know, Harari points out, to communicate to each other. So we can talk to each other, we can create some stories, and humans have developed some systems, some principles that bind each other. So these are the common minimum principles we are sticking to. Those are called ethics. So ethics is some set of principles that humans have laid for themselves so that the interactions become easy, so that we know how to treat the next person, so that the resources we have collectively, our economic resources, are shared by everyone, so that political power is not concentrated in hands of few, but any Indian can actually contest and even become the Prime Minister of India. A chaiwala could become Prime Minister of India because we've developed democratic ethos, right? So we have, okay, I can understand why you're all laughing, but that is democracy coming very true in its spirit. So ethics is those principles which ensures that collective good takes precedence over individual good. And who is defining this collective good will tell us how ethics is shaped in the society. Usually, dominantly religion, majority, men, they shape ethics because men have been in power for so long. Majority religions are large in number, and some section of people are more vocal. They have been setting the tone of what is the right thing to do in society. Even if you look at family, you ask your mother, as on who's taking a decision, what does she say immediately? Let me just consult father and come back. So ethics usually are unfortunately set by majority, or the most vocal, or the most powerful. That is why ethics is not necessarily equal to morality. So morality goes a little deep, it is idealist. So morality says you have to be good to all. You should never lie. Treat each other with respect. Never hurt anyone. So that's where morality is. It is about goodness. So you only do good, speak good, feel good, never harm someone. So that is morality. Whereas ethics tell you, no, you can lie sometimes, maybe to save some life. You can be bad, maybe if you want to get into power. So do bad so that you can do good. So cheat in your exams so that maybe you can become a topper and then get into a prestigious institute. So you need not respect all individuals. Maybe some individuals need to be treated badly because the society is actually unfair. So ethics gives you the harder version, the harsher reality of life, because these are the principles running the society. Society has set these principles for itself, and it believes that these principles determine what is the right thing to do. And if we do this, then we are all happy. This is good for society. That's what it tells you. It does not tell that it is bad. But somehow it contradicts with actual universal morality. So a society with ethics, actually ethics is the binding glue that is making us all run in sync with each other. You need not think for a moment how to face a stranger, because you naturally know that they are a fellow citizen and they have to follow the traffic rule. You don't have a separate traffic rule from them. You two share the same laws, same income tax laws. So your cooperation becomes easy. You two vote in the same pattern. You two study in the same college. So you have same set of principles. So in institutes, in families, so in family, the ethic is father will provide, mother will take care. In organization, boss will pay, employees will work. In nation, rulers will rule, people are paying taxes. So unsaid, unspoken systems which have evolved over time so that we can all efficiently collectivize and work together for happiness of all. Those principles are ethics. Now, why ethics is pretty clear, right? For cooperation. Without ethics, you cannot cooperate with a stranger. Once you have that, like those principles, your interaction is smooth. And without ethics, you cannot trust the next person. Each person feels cheated. And without ethics, those who are weak, those who are powerless cannot negotiate with the system. Without ethics, resources will not be distributed efficiently. Without ethics, we don't know what is the right thing to do, and each individual keeps on doing what is right for them. Then the world will become a paradise of selfishness, and others who cannot be strong for any reason will not survive. So, over years, human species, thankfully, have created some systems that allow each of us to grab a pie from. We can grab a pie from economic system, can grab a pie from political system, from the social system. You can grow in these respective systems. Thankfully, we have created. Of course, there are flaws, and that's what we analyze in the drawbacks of society and as to how we can move forward. Going forward, the biggest difficulty with ethics is it is difficult to find that what is right thing to do. It is very, very difficult. The challenge lies in difficulty, like we have already discussed. There are some thinkers who keep telling you that it's good if you do the duty. So, what is your duty as a student studying? What is your duty as a civil servant? Maybe signing that paper. But what if that paper is giving you a wrong instruction? Should you sign it or not? Is it your duty or not? They do not answer the question. Then there is another section which says that what is the right thing to do could be based on outcome. So if you sign that paper and if the outcome is good, you should do your duty. If the outcome is bad, you need not do your duty. That's another set of thinkers. We call them consequentialists. You'll be introduced to thinkers in the afternoon. Kesha will take you through what is the right thing to do from a theoretical perspective. But I'm just like, trying to explain the difficulty in determining the right thing to do. And then comes religious code. Religion tells that maybe you have to be truthful all the time, irrespective of the situation. And then your own personal values will tell you something else. Your family tells you something else. Then comes law on top of all. Law tells you something else. So section 377 till recently it was telling that homosexuality is a crime. But somehow in your personal values, you know that no, homosexuality is not as criminal as it is made to look. So the difficulty in ethics is to find what is the right thing to do, because there are so many inputs to you constantly. So these are what we call as determinants of ethics. So what determines your ethics? Sometimes law tells what is ethical. For example, traffic rules. So you should never go in the opposite direction. You should always stop when there is red light. Who is telling you? Law is telling you. And you're penalized for that. Sometimes your personal values only tell you. So why don't you throw garbage on the road? Why do you always put it in the dustbin and put it outside? Okay, maybe law is telling you, but then even personally as an individual, why don't you spit on the road? We don't have any law against spitting on the road. And why do you always flush the public toilet when you use a public toilet? No law tells you that you have to flush the public toilet. So sometimes our personal values also inherently guide us to determine what is the right thing to do. And for some individuals, religion is a strong determinant of ethic. So if you've heard of E. Sridharan, if you've heard of T.N. Seshan, so E. Sridharan in one book that I've read, so he's speaking as to how every morning he spends time with religious texts, and he derived his discipline, he derived his conscientiousness from the principles of religion and of doing one's duty, the philosophy of karma. You know Mahatma Gandhi, how Mahatma Gandhi derived his moral philosophy from a synthesis of religions, from Jainism, from Christianity, from Hinduism, right? So Gandhi's ethics is derived from a concoction of religious principles. And sometimes we also assess what is the right thing to do based on outcome. So just imagine this case, that whether you have to do a third-degree torture to a terrorist or not. The terrorist is holding key information on where the bombs are implanted in the city. Across the city, there are so many bombs, and you have to extract that information. Otherwise, the bomb is going to blast in the next 6 hours. So whether you'd go for a third-degree torture or not, ideally you may be a person who does not believe in third-degree torture. So can you say that I'll not torture him, I'll just let him be and allow 1,000 people to die in the city, or you're ready to take that step to save those 1,000 lives? So that's where outcomes matter. Even in clinical trials, what happens in clinical trials? Few people are given vaccine shots as experiments so that lakhs of people are saved. So for Covaxin, I enrolled for Covaxin clinical trial. We are given a vaccine shot. It can be vaccine or placebo. So we may be given a dummy also. And we don't even know the side effects of the vaccine. But for the larger good, so that lakhs of people get inoculated with right results, some people are used as means for larger good. So in such situations, you look at outcome. Next, there's also the theory of just doing your duty, being good, being upright as an individual or as an administrator. So let's just imagine this scenario where you have migrants in your district, and the enforcement department is coming and it's trying to evacuate all the migrants. So there's so much pressure to push off the migrants from district, and most of them, are legal immigrants. But the enforcement department is somehow driven by this mania, or they're creating this fear of immigrants and they want to push them out. What do? Do you want to just save your skin and be calm, or you want to do your duty to uphold the rights of those immigrants? So in such situations, doing your duty of upholding someone's rights, of upholding the principles of constitution is important. It helps you in determining what is the right thing to do. So usually at the least level, like at the fundamental level, your personal values and your conscience will automatically tell you on what is the right thing to do. If you're not very clear on your personal values, we usually consult some role models. We read from books, we ask seniors, we learn from our parents' experiences, family, from religion as to what is the right thing to do. If you're still not clear, usually look up to law. We follow law. If you're still not clear, constitution. For a civil servant, constitution is the ultimate source of ethics. Our constitution has brilliant principles such as liberty, equality, justice, not just normal justice, but socio-economic, political justice. And then it also speaks of unity and fraternity, integrity of nation. So when you are in personal values cannot answer the question, refer to any friend what is the right thing to do. Or you can derive examples or any items that you just the source of
Your
it.
voice is breaking.
Oh, it's breaking.
Yeah,
Okay,
just now.
just a minute.
Sure.
Is it
Ma'am, I want to ask one question.
Sure.
Ma'am, your voice
Yeah.
is breaking. Ma'am,
Just give me a minute. Just is it clear?
not yet.
Not clear, ma'am.
Resolve. Let's see. Because I'm not in my home. I've just moved to another place and I'm running on Geo-Fi. It's giving me all trouble. There's no Wi-Fi, no stable Wi-Fi. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, Shubhankar, I think you were asking a question.
Yes, ma'am. I was asking. Right now we are not discussing case study, but you told about that terrorist and all. So in this case, as they have given this chart, like first we have to think about our personal values and concerns. Then role model. We can take these things, consider this thing for understanding what is right thing to do. So in this fashion, we can solve case study.
Shubhankar, your voice is not very clear.
Now
So
it-
I understood till the terrorist part. Personal values, next role models, and then you were saying something.
Yes, ma'am. In this fashion, we can answer the case study, like taking the help of this.
Yeah. See, case studies is a different game altogether. Because when it comes to case studies, the first thing we have to do is to stabilize the case. So we show our understanding of the case, we deconstruct it, and then we solve the case. So where can we apply these principles in case studies? The last part of case study is where we give a rationale as to why we are doing a certain action. So there you're going to use all these principles. So, upholding human rights, upholding the principles of human dignity, or looking at the larger interest than my own personal values, or putting public interest ahead of my personal principles. So these are the reasons as to why you have decided to do that third degree torture, right? So the last part of a case study is the rational part, and you're right, that's where you will use these principles. So once you absorb the theory well, like like you just absorbed it now, your case studies will become beautiful. Because the biggest thing we see in most case studies is they miss the reasoning part as to why you are doing it. Why have you decided to go ahead with third degree torture? So that rationale is the key of case study, and that's where you use theory. Yes, you can of course cite that, it's your duty. Instead of just citing the thinker's name, we will go by the spirit of it. Fine. Moving ahead. I'll just show you yeah, I'll just show you these slides on the. This is very important, in my opinion, because we usually believe that what we think is the right thing to do is exactly the right thing to do. But each individual has their own definition of what is the right thing to do, right? So that's where people differ from each other. That's where conflicts happen. For you, corruption could be bad, but for the minister who is bossing you, petty corruption is okay. Or for a senior in the office, corruption could be okay, which for you is totally no. So people differ on their definitions of what is the right thing to do. But we all agree on some universal principles. So despite the petty differences, whether to give that petty corruption or not. So your parents might be saying, I think I have even given that question in journal. Your parents might be thinking, okay to take dowry if the girl's parents are willingly giving it. Why do you feel bad about it? They're anyway giving. And ethics, universal ethics binds us irrespective of whether you're good or bad. It doesn't matter. It only looks at what all of us are agreeing upon. So you cannot harm others. You cannot breach the trust of others. You should always respect the dignity of the person next to you. Loving peace, being responsible, having love. So love is such a universal ethic. Your parents love you, you love someone. So, peace. So, no one wants to go to war automatically. You justify war. But none of us say that war is good because you're just fighting and you're becoming a superhero. So, people naturally expect from each other. We all expect peace. Okay, my whiteboard is not working. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I wish you all bear with me and don't curse me for this bad internet.
It's okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
No problem,
I'm
ma'am.
extremely
Actually,
sorry.
it is problem of Geo.
Yeah, see, I have ideas really bad. So we brought this Geo 5 and now Geo is very bad and we are recharging Airtel now. I'm so sorry. This is very bad and I can really understand, but I'm feeling helpless. Just stay with me. We'll be moving back to my town in 4 days. So you should be good.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So, coming back to where we were initially, it's a noisy place too. Yeah. So, like we were discussing, irrespective of your geography, irrespective of the time you belong to, irrespective of your legal, institutional mechanisms, people largely agree that we want to be loved. Even the most threatening, cruel terrorist wants to be loved by his partner or her partner. Each one of us expect trust and fidelity from our friends. So, no terrorist or no robber wants, or even a parent who is very cruel to children still wants his children to be faithful, to be trustworthy and responsibility. So each parent taking care of children, irrespective of what the parent is. So the parent could be a criminal, the parent could be a liar, they could be corrupt, but still they take care and responsibility of children and not harming others. So you just go beat a stranger on the road, irrespective of what, whether you are right wing or whether you're left wing, or you belong to Hinduism or you belong to Islam or Christianity, people will say that you cannot harm others. So why don't you first talk? So people naturally, so most of the people across the world naturally tend towards goodness. We tend towards compassion, we tend towards trust, we tend towards being faithful, we tend to being more responsible. So this is a natural tendency in human beings. So that is why we call them universal ethics. So these ethics are not separated by time or by space or the law or the institutions you are believing in. So, going back to the essential question as to what is the right thing to do. So, this is the question we were holding to, right? So, once we answer this question, so we have discussed the various sources, yourself, your religion, or your role models, your law, or your institutions. Then then comes some theories, ethical thought, helping you to figure out what is the right thing to do. So these are all called as determinants of ethics. We have also discussed how, despite each of them being different, for yourself, what is the right may be different. For one religion, what is right might be different. Each law in the countries, they could be different. Different thinkers tell you differently as to what is the right thing to do. Despite the differences, we are all agreeing on some universal principles that help us in deciding the right thing to do. So when you're extremely confused, you don't know what is good here, what is right here, that's when you apply universal principles. So ethics as a field of study has been evolving. Ethical thought has been evolving. Society is becoming more ethical. We're bringing in more laws, different laws from the past. Religions are changing, adapting. Yourself, like we have a question in the journal also. So, what is the right thing to you as an individual keeps changing, but the universal principles hold all of these together. That's the binding factor. Next, coming to the consequences of ethics. So, why is ethics important? So, we have known that if we look at consequences of ethics, we can look at it in two ways. One, if no ethics, what happens? But there's another dimension. If we have ethical societies, what will happen? In fact, you can divide this at a personal level and a social level. What does it do to you and what does it do to the society as well, if the ethics is there and if the ethics is not there? We have already discussed what happens if there is no ethics at an individual level and social level. If no ethics, we have discussed what these people have been telling us, right? We watched the video. Now let us just see what happens if we have ethical societies. What does it do to us if we are ethical? I'll be sharing another video.
Where everything's wanted yesterday, you need to be fast. That's why Bluehost gives
I hope you grasp the essence of what she's saying. Anyone wants to debrief what she just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
When we give some of our things to other, it gives us more happiness than taking something from other. Means this much only I.
Yes. Yes, that's a critical point. There is happiness in being selfless, in just giving, right? Without expecting. And she also revealed one stunning point that irrespective of income status. So I suppose most of you heard this example during COVID lockdown. A woman who just earns 300 rupees a day, she gave cool drink bottles to police who were just standing and managing the lockdown. It happened in Telangana, Hyderabad. So there is this joy in giving that is a consequence of ethics. So individuals, by being ethical, by thinking beyond their self, don't just build just societies. So social aspect we already know, but it is also in our selfish interest, because we cannot be happy as individuals in this society. We always want people around us to be either acknowledging us or to be happy. If there's overall gloom and doom around us, like it happened during lockdown and over the last 7 months, none of us could be very happy. We are anxious, isn't it? If you know that whatever you do, you will not grow. Whatever happens, you cannot be successful. So how much of ever hard work you put in, you'll not crack this exam. You cannot be happy. So ethics as a society, when we are more ethical, when we live by some principles, it leads to deep personal satisfaction and happiness also. So people tend to give, people tend to be selfless because we gain pleasure out of being selfless. This is demonstrated in many studies, despite thinkers like Ayn Rand and Friedrich Nietzsche saying that humans are ultimately selfish and they do everything for their selfish interest. But that selfish interest is actually happiness. You are deriving your selfish interest from someone outside you, right? So that happiness is there in being selfless is a key determinant of ethics. Next, is a key consequence of ethics in personal life. And as a society, to build, like we discussed at the beginning itself, to build trust, to build institutions, to create just societies, to not exploit the poor and vulnerable, to ensure fair distribution of resources, to ensure that only some selfish people do not succeed at the cost of others. We need ethics. So consequences of ethics. So you can take any law, maybe for that matter. You can take Domestic Violence Act. Then you can take any religious principle, like always maybe being responsible to earth. That's what Jainism preaches. And next, you can take any family rule. Take care of your elders. Right? So these are some ethics we are living by. All of these, in a way or other, help us create just society, help us create trust, to not exploit, to not just be selfish, to ensure a fair distribution of resources. So take such examples you see in your everyday life, be it from your religion, be it from yourself, your conscience, be it from your family, be it from your legislation, be it the institutions or your role models, they will be teaching you the same ethics. Next, I'll just show you few examples on how our ethics are shaped by few people and how unfortunate they turn out to be. See, for example, electoral bond. So, electoral bond has legalized black money, isn't it? So, electoral opacity, being non-transparent about your finances, is now legal. So, by legalizing unethical behavior, sometimes laws also promote negative negative ethics. So that's not where we want to go as a society, but law has legalized. And then we have people like Mr. Mulayam Singh who say that ladke hain, galti ho jati hai. So he gave this comment after an incident of rape. So he's saying that after all, men are men and they do such silly mistakes. So he's setting the tone of society towards women. So the ethics of society towards women and towards rape is set by such role models because he's a key political figure. And if you watch the movie Thappad, you keep on hearing this. Just a slap and you're giving him divorce. So just a slap, it is getting back. So that's why we are setting ethics as what is trying to do. So when you say that just a slap is okay, so little acts of violence against women are called ethical, but major acts of violence are called unethical. And see how Donald Trump kept on saying that global warming is created by China to make US manufacturing non-competitive. So this is setting the ethics or public narrative on what is right about climate change. So post this statement, there is a debate on okay. It's just I I think because of the frequent pauses, there is so much disturbance. Let me just do something. Um, there are two more topics left. I'll just send you a screen. Sindhuja, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm so sorry because of the frequent interruptions. There's a discontinuity in class. So I'll just try. I'm trying to figure out a way. So what we have covered till now, we have discussed the essence of ethics, what ethics is. We have covered the determinants of ethics. We have covered the consequences of ethics. We were just discussing how ethics is determined by role models and how it impacts or how it affects our public perception of what is the right thing to do. So climate change might be considered a farce if people like Trump keep on saying that it's manufactured by China. So we are left with ethics in private and public relationships and lessons from role models and administrators. I'll do a screen recording of these two and I'll send you the recording in few minutes itself, and I want you to watch that because I'm absolutely hating this disturbance in the classroom and I don't feel this is the way we have to be going ahead. So I'm really sorry about it. We will figure out a way soon and we'll just try to send you a screen recording of these two topics so that you can catch up with the chapter 1. Now I'll quickly jump into the discussion on journals and previous year questions, because that anyway is ad hoc. It happens in bits and pieces, so we can discuss that thoroughly. Did you all solve the journal, each of you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So any questions in the Anjana, have you also solved the
No, I
journal?
have not. I have not done it.
Okay, fine. You can take your time and you can solve it today. For
Yeah,
now,
sure.
just follow the discussion on that, and
Yeah,
I'll
and
discuss.
are we
Yeah,
supposed to post it somewhere after we finish, or?
yeah. Please post it on Slack itself, on the Slack channel where the journal is posted.
Okay.
Post your solved journal.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, do you have any questions from journal you were unable to solve, or where you felt really stuck up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, tell me.
Fourth question.
Yeah, just a minute. Okay, I'll try to share my screen again, and I know this will go once I share, but I hope that it'll stay. Yeah. So, where did you go wrong here? Like, recollect an instance where you felt that you did a good thing. Can you identify why you called it good? So, the spirit of the question is to test where you derive your morality from. What you so source of your morality, and why you consider something right or wrong. So that's the expectation. So what did you do and where are you stuck?
No, ma'am. I solved that question, but it took me time to recollect things like in recent what was the good thing I did. So I have solved it, but I have solved it some differently. Like
Okay,
I will
do you want to
my
share?
answer. Yes, ma'am. I will definitely share. It is the recent thing only in 2020. I left my 14-year of friendship with my very best friend because, and for that I have given the reason because I called it a good because one the most important value in the friendship is honesty and trust. So these things were lagging in that friendship. So I felt it bad, and but I felt bad because I break the friendship. But I was having a kind of satisfaction because I acted on my principles that one should be trustworthy and honest in friendship, which are some of my values deeply attached to my inner concerns.
Okay. So I agree with the example you've given, and I totally agree with the reasoning you have given. But when you are writing a
Ma'am,
good
your voice
action
not.
that I have done, so this is just good for yourself, right? For yourself. Okay. Is it the case with everyone? Okay. Is it the case with everyone?
Yeah, it was
Am I
breaking.
Now
Now
you're
it's okay.
audible, ma'am.
Now it's fine.
Okay, fine. Great. So, when you are writing or when you're saying what is the good thing to do, don't just confine to what is good for yourself. So, the decision you have made, you you can say that it has done good to you in a way. So you have taken an action, but did someone benefit out of it beyond you? So when you are giving examples like in UPSC, try to showcase any example where you have gone to the definition of good beyond yourself, and don't let it have any negative connotation, preferably. So I'm not at all discounting your experience. It's bang on example. But when you're using examples in UPSC, I'm trying to give you a way. So let's say you have a friend, you helped a friend and you felt good about it. Then that could be good. But you left a friend because they breached trust, and it is just good for you, but it is not good for your friend. Maybe you could have discussed with your friend. Maybe you could have resolved your issue, right? So if you give such examples, maybe UPSC will, the examiner will go into questioning your example. That's not what we want. Your example has to be.
That is what I was concerned about.
Yes.
That was I was concerned about,
yes.
because of that
Yes.
it took me a little time to solve it, because I was thinking about society also, but then after so much time I finally choose this. I was knowing that
yes, it's
at individual
totally
level.
okay. Yes, because see, the example we choose, we should not be explaining it again, because we are already giving an example to explain a concept. So you have a concept, you use an example to explain this concept, but we should not be explaining the example itself. Right? So choose simple examples. So maybe any act of, even a simple act of deciding to, reduce car consumption, or, fuel consumption, not using car much, or traveling in public transport, or maybe deciding to engage in household activities to help your parents, or maybe listening to a friend when they are in distress. Very simple acts. Or maybe standing up for a cousin who is facing relationship issues, or your family members not agreeing and you have convinced them about your cousin's relation. Any such simple things also, we will have lots of scope to explain what or why. But this one, Shubhankar, could be bit difficult for the examiner to process. They do not have the patience to listen. So try and recollect a very simple example when you felt, yeah, this is right. This is a good thing to do. When you made a resolution, or maybe you can say most of you must have left your careers and come chose a civil services preparation. So that's when you feel good about yourself, right? So because you feel responsible, that you're studying about the society, that you're responsible to people around you, you can even write that. Anyone else has a different example on to discuss? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else has any other example?
For this, ma'am,
Yeah, for this question. Like, what did you write?
when I wrote regarding whether I could stop using plastic.
That's a very simple example, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need to write in the exam. So you're reducing your personal experiences to complex concepts. And why did that make you feel good, Sindhu?
Even I'm making my parents conscious that not to throw plastic on roads. It is not okay to throw, papers or plastic out of the car when traveling, because it degrades our environment and earth also. Because recently, when we are laying foundation for our house, new house, there was lot of plastic covers and everything when we dug for the basement. I was actually shocked because those plastic covers were very deep into the earth also, and down into the soil.
Yes. So you're feeling good because you share the collective responsibility to save Earth, right?
Yes.
Yes. So somehow, if you notice, universal ethic is making you happy,
Yeah.
right? So for most of us, when we uphold values like being responsible to others, listening to others, being compassionate, retaining faith in others, someone coming, having trust in us and speaking to us, that's when we all feel happy. Irrespective of what we do, or whether we believe in BJP or we believe in Rahul Gandhi. So, whatever your side may be, simple acts of kindness, simple acts of being responsible make us happy. So in UPSC, we have this question: how do you define happiness? Let's just look at previous year question once. So in the same paper, um, all human beings aspire for happiness. Do you agree? What does happiness mean to you? So whenever you feel that you have something good, you feel happy. Simple. You can explain with examples. Really happy, like Sindhu just pointed out. And any common example, what does happiness mean to you? Maybe happiness means just being responsible or doing little things, or maybe always listening to your voice. That's what happiness means to me. So when I stopped throwing plastic after reading stories of how it is harming biodiversity, and after seeing for myself how the entire soil is polluted with plastic waste, I felt the urgency to stop it, to stop plastic or reduce plastic consumption, and for myself to stop throwing litter on the road. So that's a moment of extreme happiness for me. And then you can even decode this statement. Each human being aspire for happiness in their own way. They find happiness. Some people find happiness in giving to others. Some people find happiness in earning more money. Some people find happiness in being beautiful. Some people find happiness in just traveling, leaving everything behind and traveling. So there are various versions of happiness. But then what binds most of our happiness together is some principles, some universal ethics. That's how you can you're bringing in your personal experience, you're bringing in your definition, you're getting yourself to all of us together. Right? So that makes a good ethics answer. So why this journal again is for you to discover yourself first, so that once you link it with concepts and write an answer, it becomes free flowing and it becomes unique. Otherwise everyone will be writing the same answer and it gets boring. Let's move on to one more question. Anyone else, any other question?
Ma'am, seventh question, I mean, it's
Any other question?
seventh question.
7.
Yeah, it's very difficult to choose one value
Okay.
to success answers for all.
Okay. 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 So usually UPSC may not ask you to just find one value, but just in case it asks, we want you to push and we want just to push you and discover one critical value that is common in all the actions you have done. So let's say in your school you have decided to stand up for a friend, in your college you've decided to stand up against caste, and you have left your career and decided to pursue yourselves despite failures. Just give me a minute, this noise. Okay, I think we have to soundproof our home. So, is there one value that you can find in all actions, Sindhu?
Ma'am, I did not get you, ma'am. Which kind of value we can write? Generally, we listen to our conscience, or at that time when we will decide it, right? One value means honesty or trustworthy. I did not get like what to write exactly.
Okay, so if there are 5 strong instances in your life, 5 life-changing moments in your life, if you can, or maybe 2 or 3 if you can list them down. Maybe some illness in family, or maybe the decision to quit your career and pursue civil services. These are some humongous decisions you might have made, right?
Yes.
Not very easy. And something could be underlining these 2 or these 3 instances. It could be courage. It could be finding your voice or speaking your voice.
Yes.
Or it could be helping others. Or it could be just helping yourself. So, right, self-respect. It could be self-respect. For one student, it is self-respect. So for I think in our previous batch, for one student, it is pursuit of knowledge. So it could be anything, any one principle that have guided you. So that is what we mean by values, isn't it? So values are those which we hold very personally. We resonate our values. We exude our values. So whatever values you speak of, whatever values you think you hold, you reflect them. They come out of your body like that. In each action you choose, in each decision you make, your value is a spirit of values. So instead of saying that your value is integrity, is honesty, I want you to reflect what you really value the most in life. What is that one principle you cannot let go of? And each decision you have made based on that. For most of us, it is respect. So on social media, someone comments, it could be self-respect, right? So instead of writing such routine examples, integrity, for you to reflect an example of integrity at this stage, it could be very difficult. But self-respect is a simple value we all uphold to. Courage is a very, very simple value we all hold in our lives. And maybe sometimes being selfless, being responsible, taking ownership. All these values we must have displayed at some point in our life, definitely. So the definition of value, if you experience the spirit of it, it is something you hold with so much priority that each decision you make in life. Right? So I hope definitely. That okay?
Yes. Mom, your voice is breaking now.
All right. Next, any other question? Oh, it's breaking again. Thank you. Now I've switched to Airtel. Sure. So in one day we switched from Idea to Jio to Airtel. Yeah, awesome.
Yes,
So list 2 or 3 ethics or values where you, your family, your neighbors and friends agree upon. Right? This one.
Ma'am, no. Ma'am, I'm talking about, can we discuss the last case study?
Okay.
Because I have
Case studies, we have a session for case study. I don't want to discuss case studies now.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. So in our first case study session, after we are done with attitude and thinkers also, you should be introduced to thinkers today evening for us to go to case studies. So then we will do it more comprehensively. So let's just wait for 2 more sessions. I think the next session is after attitude EI is the case study session. Anything else from the journal? Shall we go to previous year questions? Have you solved the journal?
Yes, ma'am, we solved.
Okay, Sindhu, Shubhankar solved. Anjana could not. Akhilesh?
No, I haven't been able to solve it yet.
Okay, okay. So I encourage you all to solve the journal and post it on Slack, and also go through others from your friends. So that's what we call collective learning. So I have posted my solve journal also at the beginning itself by mistake. So you can go through my examples also and may find some examples for, for you to write good answers. And let me now move on to some previous year questions. So before we jump into discussing these questions, I want you to first understand how an ethics answer is different from a traditional GS answer. In ethics answer, you need to have few things definitely. First, insight. What is your understanding of the statement? So, which reflects your understanding. It should be very, very clear. Second, using as many examples to make your understanding clear. So, it should be very simple for the examiner to understand that your concept is clear. So, use examples, convey your insight. Third, do not just write technical stuff. So this is not a theoretical paper. If you look at the description of paper, ethics paper, it says that we try to assess the candidates. Let me also for a moment take you through the description of ethics paper. I hope that can make it very clear for you. Okay, my internet takes the whole life. So the paper describes that it wants to assess the candidate's ability, approach to some contemporary issues, and how you can solve problems you face in life. So this is what the paper wants to test. It does not want your expertise on ethical theory, on ethical concepts. It wants you to solve an ethical problem with your, what did ethical competence. How are you going to solve regular problems you face with your ethical testing? So, your answer is a mail to the examiner that you understood the issue well and conveying your understanding through examples, and that you are capable of solving the problem. So you need to give a solution to this answer. And it is not at all about listing the content or showing off your knowledge. It's not about that. It's about conveying your understanding. Now, let us come to question 1. The crisis of ethical values in modern times is traced to a narrow perception of good life. Discuss. Who wants to take this question? I think we can all discuss this.
Yeah, we feel happy like when we have materialistic things like costly cars and everything. But actual purpose of life is very different, like to feel like inner satisfaction by helping others or self by getting self satisfaction doing something. This narrow perception of life making others feel that like they are not on par with others or on buying cars or materialistic things.
Yes, ma'am. That is actually turning to that as given in lexicon extrinsic values like wealth, fame, and all.
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
I was on mute by mistake.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Right? Can you? Yes. I was on mute. I'm sorry. So, what are the key components you have question?
Can you repeat?
Like Sindhu pointed out, where we are going wrong. Yes. So, what are the key components you have to answer?
Okay.
You have to answer. Like Sindhu pointed out, where we are going wrong. Yes. What else?
Like where we are going wrong and why we are going wrong. Like people are turning towards from the universal ethics to their personal. Like you pointed me out in that
Okay.
example. Like we are thinking about ourselves only, not about society. Like we want to do this thing. Like there is no collective behavior nowadays. I,
Hmm.
that's why, and
Okay.
we
Why
also
we are
saw in
going
the
wrong and what else?
I mean, for example, by being correct, they can like gather so much of money and take care of their children, or they can provide good life for their own children, but at the cost of other people, like poor people, not providing basic facilities to them, even basic facilities to them.
Okay, you are giving examples for point one, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
But we are missing one most important thing. What is that?
We could also discuss the fact that we're
Where is
living.
your definition of good? Huh? We are living. Please go on.
So basically, we could also discuss the fact that we're living in a world where resources are so scarce that quite a lot of people don't actually have the time or the resources to have a very broad point of view about helping others and so on. They are mostly busy in making a living for themselves and their family.
Turn where we are going wrong and why we are going wrong, right?
yes
So
also
living for themselves.
our perception of good life, as you told.
Exactly. I want to hear what is your definition of good life. Once I know your definition of what is good, then your arguments on they are bad will be fine. If you don't tell me what you consider as good and you're only judging others, how can I understand what your moral, what is good to you? So I'd start off this answer by saying that a good life is a life of happiness, of contentment, of sharing, being responsible to others around us. So for me, as an individual, I feel the happiest in simple acts such as not throwing litter, such as this, such as this, such as this, such as this. But over the years has been running after goals. So missing the collective. It has been running after economic wealth, missing wellness. It has been running after just growth, so missing inclusion. So these are the problems you have identified. You can discuss them in 2 paragraphs with nice examples, like you have all given examples. And you also feel why there is this urgency to run. Now the society places premium on success, on ambition, or worthy to live if you are bright or meritorious. There is no reward for intangibles or simple things in life, such as arts, relaxation. So this is leading to the world being more than just social media trolling, instances like mob lynching, utter disregard for environment, criminals in politics. All this is a phenomenon of a world that has forgot itself. But what I think important is the world thinking of happiness, right?
Hello, ma'am.
Highest goal as high. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
there is
did
lot
you
of
lose my
disturbance.
voice?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I
Did you
didn't
lose the
understood
voice?
anything. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. There was disturbance in between. So, ma'am, can we discuss this thing in next class? Starting of the next class, because there is lot of disturbance and we are not able to understand what you are saying.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll do something then. I'll do a screen recording of this question and I'll send you. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
As to how it. Okay, I think that can help you all. And I assure you that today's afternoon class will be fine. And by next class, I'm going to resolve the noise and the Wi-Fi. Thanks for really understanding.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'll do a debrief of these questions, do a screen recording, and send you.
Yeah, okay.
Because understanding is very much important in
Yes,
this
yes,
solving the
yes.
question.
Yes, I
That
get it.
because of
And
disturbance.
yes, yes. And I don't know why your batch is facing this issue, because I just met with another class yesterday evening. It was absolutely fine, and when it comes to ethics batch, it has become an issue. So we thought it is resolved yesterday, but it came back. So by next class, consider it solved. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks for staying by, guys. Thanks a lot for understanding. Fine then, I'll do a recording of this question and those two topics, and I'll send it off on the group. And you will meet Keshav in the afternoon for your thinkers and philosophers. I'll just join, introduce him, and leave you.
What time is the class?
I think it's 3:30, 3 or 3:30.
Okay.
Our team will post it on the group.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Take care.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.